Hi guys! So I mentioned on Instagram that I'm not particularly crazy about starting watercolors, but I love to finish them. The difference between starting watercolors and starting acrylics is that acrylics you can literally come up with an idea and just paint it right on the canvas. You can start that day. But with watercolors there's just so much prep work. It's a lot. So it takes almost as much prep work as it does to do the actual painting. So for instance, these are some of the pre-drawings I did for Mermaid Rapunzel. I started out with a drawing and I just did a rough concept. I don't really worry about it being a good drawing. I just want it to get the concept across. So once I do that, then I trace my concept and I try to refine it more and make it fit on the paper. This one was particularly difficult because the hair would not fit on the paper. So I went over this one, then I went over it again, and it still wasn't right because it was not fitting on the page. So then this is my fourth one. I finally got it onto the page, and that's the one that I ended up using for my Mermaid Rapunzel painting. Another one that I have here is this quick drawing that I did of Sleeping Beauty, and like I said, I don't worry about it being a good drawing. I just quick get out what's in my head and I just put it onto paper really fast. So once I have it onto paper, that's when I go over it with tracing paper and I just get it refined and exactly how I want it. Once I have that, I sketch out, I try to get the lines to be as clean as possible. I don't really shade or anything like that. And once I have the lines cleaned up, then I will sketch it onto my watercolor paper. With watercolor paper, I use pencil first, very lightly, and then once I get it the way I want it, I'll trace over it like I did here with Prismacolor pencils, and I'll erase the original pencil. The reason I do that is because the lead in pencils will bleed onto your color. The colors will bleed with it, and Prismacolors will hold the color in, and they actually kind of help the edges too, slightly. So I did these two, and then they ended up turning into this. And all of these ones where I come up with my own concept are always more of a process than just looking at something and painting it. So here's another one I did. The quick concept for Jack and Elsa. Traced it and I got it more refined, and this is the one that I actually ended up using for my painting. So another thing I do for prep work, after I sketch it on, then trace that with pencil and then erase the pencil, is I do the masking fluid. And I'm gonna put the masking fluid on baby Sven here, so I thought it would be a good time to show you guys how to do that. So just bear with me. Okay, hopefully you can see that. Place this down more. Okay, so for masking fluid, I use this Winsor & Newton. This one has a tint to it. You can use one without a tint. It's just your preference. So you want to make sure your paper is completely dry when you put it on. And I use old paintbrushes. This is an old acrylic brush that was going bad, so I retired it and made it into a masking fluid brush. You don't want to use your same water that you use for your watercolors as your masking fluid. I have this special jar for my masking fluid, and then I have this special jar for just my watercolor paints, and I have another one for acrylics. I don't like to mix any of those. So here's the baby Sven. I go with this bigger brush. I go in the larger parts, and I just go real lightly. I'm only going to do part of this now. I go back in with a smaller brush and I do the little details. So like I said, I don't want to rush this one, so I'm going to finish this after, but that's the idea of putting on the masking fluid. You want to wait for it to dry completely before you apply your paint. And I have one that's dried completely, so I'm going to go ahead and apply the first layer of paint to that. So I'll put him aside, and I'm going to start the background for this little stitch here. And for the backgrounds, I use a lot of water. I get a color I want. This one's going to be all black and white, so I'm just going over it very lightly at first. I like to apply my background layers with this really thick brush, and this one I think is Sable. It's made by Silver, and I've just loved it. I'm going to make sure I use a lot of water too. It just makes the colors look lighter and you can see the layers more. Okay, so I'm going to wait for this to dry, and then I'm going to apply more layers, and hopefully soon I can start these paintings. And thank you so much. We'll see you soon.